You don't need more motivation. You need to stop disappearing every time your progress is getting a little quiet. That's the truth. Now, in this video, we're talking about how to keep going when fluency feels farther away than you would like it to feel, because every learner hits this moment where progress feels quiet, your confidence might be starting to fade. Some of us specifically feel this at the intermediate plateau, which, if you're learning multiple languages, is going to happen over and over and over again. And this is where consistency and support make the difference between giving up and growing, progressing, finally using the languages that you're learning in your day-to-day life. So let's talk about it. First, let's talk about why fluency might feel distant in the first place, why you feel like you're putting in the time and the effort, but you're still not seeing the result. In the previous videos of this series, we've talked about fluency and redefining it, the myths that we believe, the ways that you can build in more of that practice to see the fluency that you already have, even in tiny ways, and even tracking your progress. And so there are weeks where things are clicking and you're like, wow, I actually understood it this time. I didn't have to look up that word for the 5th time. But then there's weeks where nothing is working and you're constantly looking up the same thing over and over again, where you're forgetting words that you knew. Your brain is feeling like it's chugging a little bit slower, and you start to wonder if you're actually improving. That doesn't mean that you're failing. It means your brain is processing, and I don't think that we give ourselves enough time to process, right? Fluency is built in cycles. It's not in a progressive, start here and we go here. Fluency is actually a little bit of a roller coaster. There's loop-de-loops, especially for those of us learning multiple languages, because then we have to balance those 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus languages. We learn, we pause, we absorb, we rebuild, and we maintain. And so there are some quiet phases to the process, and it's a part of the process. It's not a failure of your actions or a lack of progress, right? The truth about these plateaus, it's not a punishment. It's not a sign that you failed and you did something wrong. It's just a sign that you've reached a new level of stability. So first off, congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back, round of applause, because if you are at a plateau where you feel like your progress is slowed down, that means you've reached a new baseline and you have to do things differently. It is a clear sign that you have to do something differently. You have to track different progress. You have to adjust the strategies you're using. And most likely you have to do less studying and more active using of the language. You don't have to actually formally study it as much, but if you haven't already started using the language, you have to use it more. And if you have been using it, you have to use it more, right? Your brain is organizing what you already know so that you can handle more later. But when you mistake this pause for failure, for a lack of progress, it's what's going to create burnout, because what is our natural reaction to, oh my God, I'm not making enough progress? Do more, study for longer. And that's what's going to create burnout. But when you truly understand it as a recovery moment or as a indicator, like a notice, hey, time to switch and do something a little bit different. This is what's going to create the consistency, the routine, the longevity that is required for this process. This is a lifetime of learning. And that's why you don't actually need to start over. It's not that you really forgot things. You have to learn how to return and how to shift, how to adapt to these moments in your language studies. So here's some strategies that I like to use on how to stay in motion, how to keep it going when you've reached this kind of plateau. First, revisit your proof. One of the first things that I like to do is go back to what you tracked. So if you watched the previous video, you already know some things that you can track. And if not, go back to that video first and then come back here to finish this one. But look at your notes, your milestones, your small wins, your big wins, the things that worked, the things that didn't work. You already have proof that what you did matters, what you did counted, and let it remind you of how far you've come. Sometimes we reach this plateau because we feel like we didn't actually do anything, that nothing changed. And so being able to look back at your previous self and what you accomplished or where your skills were at then can sometimes be enough to show you, oh, okay, I actually did make progress. Oh, my bad. And then you don't put this pressure on yourself to do more, but to keep doing what you're doing because it's working. The second thing that you can do is adjust the volume, because consistency, as I've said probably in every single video of this series, consistency does not mean doing the same thing every single day. Do not tell yourself, if you remember nothing else from this video, consistency does not mean doing the same thing every single day. It means keeping up with your language studies on a regular basis, present in a way that fits your energy, your time, your expectations. Some days, some weeks, it might be full study sessions that are an hour, 2 hours long. Other weeks, it might be quick sessions, breaking them apart 15 minutes 3 times that day or 2 times that day. It might have more study sessions throughout the week or less study sessions throughout the week. You might focus on just doing one sentence or one song or one quick check-in as a reflection after the session, but all of it counts. Third thing that you can do when fluency is feeling a little bit farther away than you would like, or you've hit this plateau, is protect your focus. Go back to your clarity. Go back to the clarity and the reasons why you're on this journey in the first place. If you haven't already developed your guiding principles, I have a video on that and a resource. I'm going to link both, because you don't need more resources. That's usually something we try to do. More resources. Let me find a better app. Let me hire a tutor. And maybe, but don't do that out of the feelings that are coming up for you. Do that from the data that you've gathered, from the tracking that you've done, because you might not need more resources. You might just need fewer distractions. You might just need more time in the plan that you've created for yourself. So pick one area to focus on, to change, to shift, to adjust at a time. It can be the resources that you're using or the tools that you're using, but it can also be the skills. Maybe instead of focusing on listening, speaking, reading, writing, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, you're saying, I'm just going to focus on 3 max. And what we say inside of the lab all the time is a rule of 3. No more than 3 skills at any given moment. Usually I personally rotate 3 skills every month if I'm switching skills at all for any of the languages. So maybe you're focusing on a different skill, a different strategy, a different resource, a different tool, and let that progress build on each other and compound. Now, the fourth thing that you can do if you feel like your motivation is dwindling or you're not able to see the progress like you hoped you would, fluency is still feeling farther away than you would like it to be, I want you to find accountability that feeds you, because the last thing we want to do is put yourself in a position where you stop your momentum. You've done the work. We want to keep it going. And oftentimes doing this without accountability anchors, as I like to call them, or doing this journey, this studying, the language learning alone, it makes it feel like every small setback is heavier, because if you're like me, you're overthinking it. You're adding, assuming things that are not really real. And that's part of the reason why I feel so strongly about tracking, because it helps me to not lie to myself about the things I thought I did wrong or the progress I felt I didn't make. And so if you're like me and you struggle to see that, the tracking is going to help. And then the accountability anchors are going to help. It's going to help you to stay aware. It's going to help you to reflect faster. It's going to help you to recover sooner when things slip, without guilt, without the shame, without that frustration. And that's what's going to help keep the momentum going. So when you feel disconnected, I want you to remind yourself that fluency doesn't just disappear when you take a break. It might feel like it. It really might. And that's usually the instinct that tells us, okay, you know what? Maybe I should start from the beginning because I feel like I've lost some skills and I need to start over. Don't listen to that voice. Don't do it. What we really need is to reconnect, to return, and to stay with it. So instead of restarting, I want to invite you to return to the smallest version of the routine that you set before, something that feels doable, that feels sustainable. And I would say set those expectations lower than you think you should start. You can always build up from there. I have a whole video on levels of expectations, and this is how I set expectations and how I help people set their own expectations in their language studies. So it could be 5 minutes of input, so listening or reading. It can be one short reflection about your day, just one single act that's going to help continue the momentum. And again, you might be in a place where you have to shift from studying, like 80% studying and 20% using the language, to 50 and 50, or now full 80% using the language and 20% studying. But it's about being adaptable. It's about being responsive to what you need and where you are in your process. And the more that you return to the process, the more proof you're going to have that your fluency isn't fragile, that your plan isn't fragile, that you are not fragile, that you can do this, and that it's actually happening. Because the more that you use the language in small ways, the more that you're proving to yourself that you can use it. But we can't just wait for it to happen. We can't wait to feel ready. We can't wait to feel confident. We can't wait for the moment when we get to use it 100% perfectly. You have to start today, right now. Yes, you set it in motion. I'm going to hold you to it, so I better see it in the comments. So here's the journey that we've been on in this series. We've redefined what fluency means, because that's the whole journey of this series, right? We've challenged the myths of what is and is not fluent and what we believe about fluency versus the reality of fluency in any language. We've talked about how to see the progress that you're already making, how to create more opportunities to see that progress and make that progress. We talked about how to track it and different ways to track. That's not just a habit tracker of did you show up to do the work, because there's so many people who have spent 300 days of a streak learning a language and have very little to show for it. So it's not just about showing up. And now the next step is, how do we keep that momentum alive? And that's what we do inside of Fluency Mastery Lab. So that is my community for language learners who want clarity, structure, and consistent support while they grow their fluency on their own terms. So if you want to go from frustrated to fluent in all the languages that you're learning, that's literally what we do on a monthly basis inside the community. Weekly accountability, coaching from me, answering all your questions, community, all the best things that we need to support you. It's basically where we turn everything that we've done in the series into a monthly rhythm and more that helps you to stay accountable and see that steady progress year round. So if you want guidance, if you want help with reflection, if you want strategies and tools and resources and inspiration to keep you motivated, both in the things that we do as a community, challenges, workshops, but also just the community itself, that definitely helps all of us stay connected, helps us to stay motivated, especially on our Wednesdays when we meet for our accountability. Then you can join us. Link will be in the description, because you don't have to chase fluency alone. You don't have to do this on your own, and you don't have to spend 15 years figuring it out by yourself. You just have to keep returning to your language studies, being consistent with it, being aware of what's working and not working, developing and choosing the supports that really help you to come back and be consistent and make progress, creating systems that help you to make progress and see that progress, and then ultimately make that sustainable. Because when you can actually be consistent with your language studies, with any language that you're learning, you're going to see the progress, and then you'll finally be able to use that language, those languages, in your day-to-day life. So if this series helped you to see your language learning differently, and if this specific video helped you to think differently about what to do when you hit that plateau and fluency is feeling far away, I want you to like this video. I want to comment which of the strategies you want to try out for yourself and one reminder that you're taking with you, and subscribe for more videos like this that help you build fluency with clarity, confidence, and calm from your favorite introvert language coach. Yes, that's me. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.